Welcome to today's question and answers. Doing it on my own today, no guests. A whole bunch of people have signed up to the free training course that I've given out, and as I say, just want to do question and answers for those guys in particular. Anyone who's struggling with anything at all, or in general, if you're on LinkedIn or whatever it may be, then give me a shout and be more than happy to answer your questions as and when you pop in. So give us a second. We'll just allow people to come in. So for anyone joining, if you can just put your questions in the chat, I will go through as many of the questions as I possibly can. It's all about answering questions for you guys. So anything digital marketing related, SEO related, whatever, just let me know and I will answer them as quick as I can. Also, let me know where you're from. It's always a good thing. In or deep. Hi there, mate. Harry Boxall. What takeaways have I got from the recent Me update? So, in terms of recent Me update, Adam Brown. Hi, Mr. Craig. Good to see you, Mr. Adam Brown, if you're the same Adam Brown from Peterborough. So anyway, just answering some questions here, so put them in. But Harry Boxall, in terms of the most recent update, personally, I think it's link related. I have seen Christoph Semper from Link Research Tools suggest that link velocity is a thing, and obviously he's got large data sets where he can make those conclusions from. But what I tend to do, Harry, when there's an update out there is just let things settle, probably over a 3 or 4 week period before I start rushing into making any crazy changes. But it definitely does look like some link related issues as far as I'm concerned and from what I can gather. Whether it's link velocity or not, I'm not so entirely sure, but I think you just do have to look at the quality of links and stuff like that you're getting regardless of who you are anyway, and make sure that you do improve in quality, power, relevance and everything else just to future proof your business, and stop over relying on one strategy, whether that be PBNs or whatever. Just try and mix everything up and do the best you can. So hopefully that answers it. Sadly, I'm not privy to any secret information in terms of that, but from the sites that I work on and from friends in the industry, that's pretty much the general conclusion so far. Inder Deep Singh. I have a client whose website has been hit by Google. May core update. How should I fix it? Though it is gradually coming back to normal. So Deep, what I tend to say to anyone when they're suffering from an update, even if you were to do nothing and just leave it for 3 or 4 weeks, doing what you were doing, things start to gradually come back anyway. And when there's an update, whatever happens, happens and you will see movement and stuff like that, but more often than not things do kind of settle down, so to speak. And I think too many people rush in and start making wholesale changes. They start blaming technical, they start blaming content, everyone starts blaming each other, and you start making changes, and before you're doing it, you're undoing good work you already had done. The movement was based on obviously Google's update and just updating in general. So so I don't rush into anything. Just try and see how the land lies and then make your decisions. But I think it's always best to wait 3-4 weeks and then start tackling it. Was list. Sorry, I hope I said that right. Good to see you, buddy. Michael Campbell. No relation, but it's always good to see another Campbell. It is good afternoon here. Chicago, I've never been, but I'd love to go there. India, good to see you, bud. Steve Garbus, have you noticed that all the major companies such as Amazon, Wayfair, eBay rose after the latest update? I am seeing a lot more of eBay for sure. Listen, these websites get massive click-through rates. They have massive power. They're always going to be at the top end of the scale anyway. But, you know, I do believe that sometimes these websites get a little bit of a little bit more benefit, you know, at certain times of the year, and maybe Google and their friends are helping each other out and you know, helping them while the corona's on or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you certainly see it around Christmas time. I've noticed for, you know, the past 10 years or so, these websites all jump up a great deal round about then. But whether that's down to click-through rate and sheer volume of traffic and everything else all kicking in more than it would be throughout the year, then that could be the answer to that. But who knows? Who knows? Worth keeping an eye on though. Would I recommend buying links from general PBNs, i.e. on places like Legit? No, definitely not. I mean, I'm sure there are good websites on Legit somewhere along the line, but in general, PBNs are private blog networks, and buying them from places like Legit, which is a public network, just doesn't go hand in hand. There's guys out there with good, powerful websites that they call PBNs. Things like Legit and that are randomly selling links to every Tom, Dick and Harry that's out there. And I think from that, what you get is a whole bunch of garbage and you know, very little power because there's so many links on these things. So there you go. Harry Boxall, interesting. Thanks. Steve, yeah, I think waiting to see what happens is the best way. Adam Brown, it is good to see you, bud. What are your views on how impactful local citations still are for local SEO? You know, personally speaking, local citations have and still work well, but I know people like Holly Starks and stuff are walking about with hundreds of phones on them and doing a lot of click-through rate manipulation, even driving to places on their phones. So they'll go to, for example, your agency. They will go from their house in Peterborough, click get directions, and they're driving to the agency to manipulate click-through rate. They're also going on to competitors and clicking back off, and then spending a lot more time on there. Map listings and stuff like that as well. So I think between click-through rate, citations, both of those are working very well. But in most cases, a lot of these things are fairly weak. The competition's weak, so citations is sometimes enough. You don't have to go to the lengths of doing the click-through rate stuff. But I know Holly Starks over in America has seen massive results from messing about with her 100 phones and manipulating the shit out of GMB listings. But yeah, citations still work very well. I think the key part of the citations is making sure that each and every citation is spun and gets indexed, rather than just letting someone in the office copy and paste the bio time and time again into the different directories, because that is going to effectively maybe 2 or 3 get indexed and not the full 50 or 100 or whatever you're trying to get, which is why I use citationsbuilder.com. I think it's now called SEObuilder.com, actually is rebranded, but they do the whole spinning and indexing and all that kind of stuff, and it works very well for me. Jimmy Harley, is it good to outsource your project to anyone? Jimmy, do you outsource it to anyone? I wouldn't just be outsourcing it to some random that said they could do SEO. I think you've got to do your due diligence. I think more SEOs than not, are there to take your money and, do a half-assed job. But I think you can certainly outsource elements of your project. I still think you need to manage it or get someone to manage it for you, and you can outsource the grunt work like content, link building, outreach, or whatever it's going to be. But I certainly wouldn't just be handing over the full project to someone, because how do you know they know what they're doing? And unless they've got a proven track record, I'd be very careful, because there's a lot of garbage out there, but there's a lot of good guys as well. You've just got to ruffle around and find the right people. There's a lot of good guys doing a lot of good stuff, but just be careful and do your due diligence. Buffalo, New York here. New York, I like New York a lot, but it's such a busy place. Newcastle, buddy, good to see you, Ryan. Burnsy boy, Sean Burns from Scotland. I'm not going to tell anyone you are the real Mugsy. Just remember, Sean, I've got some dirt, and people will come back and notice you. But anyway, that's another story. Hasta la vista, boss. Craig, how you doing, lad? When are you coming to London? Adrian, thank you very much for the kind words. Not sure when I'm going to get to London. Believe it or not, in Scotland, we are still in lockdown until the 28th of May, and then we're allowed to go to the park and meet our friends outside. So we are probably a few weeks behind you guys in terms of getting out and about. Listen, I'm climbing the walls. I've had almost every speaking gig this year postponed or whatever. And I'm used to traveling and getting out, and I love, meeting other people and getting out and about and having beers with people and all that stuff. So as soon as I can, I will be down in London. I'm down in London a lot on business, and I've got friends and stuff that stay down there. So hopefully sooner rather than later, buddy. But with this situation, you just never know when that's going to be. But fingers crossed, it will be soon. Inderdeep, should I disavow websites which are irrelevant but has a low spam score? So the disavow thing, lots of people are going to have different debates and angles and how they do this. I tend not to disavow anything unless you've got a kind of manual penalty or you're being spammed to death. You can disavow websites that are irrelevant. But even getting an irrelevant link just now can sometimes still pass juice and still pass some power. I wouldn't be just disavowing for the sheer hell of it, because I think, over time, Google are, as it stands, generic links that carry power still move the needle. They don't always have to be super relevant, but I think in terms of future-proofing your business, you obviously want to make sure that everything is as relevant as it possibly can be. But for now, I wouldn't be disavowing anything. I would just be looking at building quality, and then maybe further down the line, you can disavow some of the irrelevant stuff if Google don't basically discount it before you get round to doing that. Mohammed, if we plan to source contents based on Google Analytics, is there any possibility of keyword cannibalization? Of course. You have to have a content calendar. There has to be some kind of structure and some kind of research. Obviously, you're going to do your keyword research. You're then going to implement the content calendar. You obviously don't want to start writing the same content two or three times, targeting the same stuff. So you potentially could get keyword cannibalization if you're just going to use Google Analytics. As I say, get a good content calendar and just sit back and map it out, and try and avoid as much of the keyword cannibalization as you possibly can. Just have a better process in place, basically. Literature point, what kind of backlink is more valuable now? The ones that your competitors don't have. Now, for me, in terms of what I'm looking for in a backlink, I'm looking for relevance. I'm looking for that website to have traffic and rankings, and not to be saturated with links. And I think always just going after what the competition's got is certainly a good way to start building up some power. But you don't always have to get exactly what the competition's got. You can also get what they've not got. There's a lot of good links out there that these guys are not getting. And I think trying to be slightly different and getting powerful stuff that they don't have is what you want to be going for, rather than following the masses and trying to get on everything they're already on. URD, good to see you again, buddy. How to find local keywords is unsaturated locality. You have to sometimes when you're using keyword research tools, like SEMrush, they don't bring through a lot of data for certain localities. So I think you can manually search and look at the title tags and everything that your competition are going for. That's essentially what you have to do. Just look at the competition manually. Sadly, the only other thing I can say is a lot of industries are saturated. You know, whether you're a roofer, a plumber, or whatever, in certain areas, things are just saturated, and there's nothing you can do about that. You can go after longer tail keywords, but essentially the saturated ones are the ones that bring in the most traffic and the most money. So sometimes you have to just fight the good fight and do what it takes to get to that position, and just have a fight. You know, and I'm not saying a physical fight, but have a good SEO fight and try and outdo the competition, because it's worth it. You know, if you go after those kind of competitive keywords, then it can turn into a lot of business and whatnot. Does case-sensitive URLs affect SEO in a bad way? Case-sensitive URL, I mean, I wouldn't be using a case-sensitive URL. I've never known anyone to use a case-sensitive URL as such. So I don't know the answer to that one. But I would imagine if you are going to have anything that's case sensitive, it would have an impact, because how do you know whether the public is using the cases that you're using? So just keep things natural and just keep things normal, the way everyone else does, and you'll be fine. Jimmy Harley, which country do you suggest is best for outsourcing? It's difficult to answer that question just off the cuff. Now, I'll give you a few examples. Like Eastern Europeans seem to be really on the ball when it comes to software development, automation, web development, and things like that. Whereas, you know, you wouldn't go to India for content writing because it's not their native language. Now, I'm sure there are good English writers that come out of India, but you can look to South Africa, America, the UK for native English content writers. I find if you're looking for a budget content writer, South Africa is a great place because their native language is English and their cost of living is the same, or their cost per month is the same as hiring a VA in the Philippines or India. So I can get a good content writer full-time for $400 from South Africa. And it is their native language. So it really comes down to what you want to outsource. You know, the Philippines is a great place to outsource certain processes, spreadsheets, you know, outreach. You know, these guys will follow things to a T, given you've got the right process. So the Philippines, India are really good at, you know, certain things, software and web-wise and stuff like that, and automation and all that stuff, and tools and everything. But, you know, let's not kid ourselves. India are not native English speakers, and you know, you wouldn't outsource that necessarily to India. So you think you have to use a kind of common sense approach and use people for the best of their ability. And that's it, you know, just leaning in the best country for what you need to outsource. But most people I know outsource to various different countries for different parts of their projects. Hopefully that helps you, Jimmy. Dev, what is the best name for digital marketing in a low budget? Can you come back to me and tell me if you're looking for a person's name, someone for me to recommend, or I'm not sure what you mean by that question. So if you can come back to me on that one, Dev. Literature Point can maybe able to help you, I'm not sure. Volume 3. Can you let me know how I get leads from that niche? Now let's see what Volume 3 actually is. Volume3.com. So you do apps, data science, product development, web development. So impact through technology. So you're a technology-based company. I mean, there's no I mean, you've got to try different things. I think, people solely rely on SEO. They solely rely, whatever. I think, with anything, you've got to use YouTube. You've got to use videos. You've got to use Facebook. You've got to use email marketing. You've got to use whatever it takes to market your business. You've got paid ads, paid core ads. You've got, forums. There's so LinkedIn you can generate leads from, just reaching out to the best people that are likely to buy from you. There's so many ways that you could generate leads from that niche. It really comes down to your budget and stuff like that. You're saying it's business to business. LinkedIn's always a good place to start generating leads. Obviously, organic search, people do always look for things organically regardless. So I think, you just need to understand where are you likely to best be able to talk to the guys that you need to talk to promote your products or services and give that a bash. But I think you've got to come in from a few different angles. There's no easy way to just generate leads business to business, some special trick or whatever. I think you just have to try and test different options. Certainly from industry to industry, the impact can be different, and you've just got to try and test different things, paid, unpaid, whatever. Just scratch around and see what works. But yeah, try LinkedIn. I think that'd be a good place for you to start. Mohammed, what's the best source to learn automated link outreach? So, good friend of mine, Gary Wilson, who owns what's his getmelinks.com. I had to forget. I know that many different vendors. Gary Wilson is actually launching a free link building course based on outreach using Pitchbox. I'm not sure if it's available yet. I do know it's in the pipeline and should be. He's starting to talk about it in Facebook. So go to getmelinks.com or look for Gary Wilson on Facebook and ask him. That is the best place where you can learn something, and it's free. Now, I'm sure there's many other courses out there that also do great stuff, and you can use Mailshake, you can talk to other people. There's loads of ways to do outreach. You don't necessarily have to use Pitchbox, but I think what you need to do is have a look at a couple of them and cherry pick the good things from each of the different people. And the reason I'm mentioning Gary's is it's free, so there's nothing better than having it for free. So yeah, have a look at that one. How to push an article which is ranking in 64 to position 1. Very generic question there, Ganesh, but you're going to have to look at whether it. First of all, what you have to do is compare your article to that in the top 10. Now, there are tools out there like Quora, POP, and they'll be able to tell you how your content is compared to that. The ones in the top 10, you may need to add more internal links. You may need to do some more link building. You may need to add more headers to your content. You've basically got to match what the guys have got in the top 10. And that is what's going to push it. But if you're confident that your article is on point and doing really well, then build some links to it, and you'll start to see it moving through the rankings very quickly. And when I say build links, I don't mean 100. Just build 3 or 4 links to it, and see if you can get that pushed up a bit. If that doesn't work, then you're going to have to go back and revisit the on-page side of things and continually tweak it until you've got it on point and it gets to the desired position. No guarantees you'll get it to position 1 because I don't know your competition. But that's the kind of process you would want to follow to try and get as close to the top as you possibly can. Jen Pricing, Brussels Poor 301, better than 404s. I mean, obviously 404s is never good for the user or for Google. So 301 is always going to be better than a 404. So yeah, that's the answer to that. Ryan McRosty, there is a domain name that was a major player in an industry that you work in. I'm looking at trying to buy it off them for the link juice. Would this domain name be considered quite valuable, i.e. should I be prepared to substantial cash to grab it. So Ryan, the domain's only really worth what you're prepared to pay for it. How much value does it have for you? Now, let's just use a hypothetical example. If it's a DR50 and it doesn't really rank that well and it's got no real content, and what are you buying? Some DR there, so, the backlink profile. I wouldn't be overpaying a lot for that. If that domain name was something I could utilize and it was already getting a whole lot of traffic as well as the power, then of course I would pay considerably more for it, because if you do a 301 redirect or whatever, you're going to have an impact and getting a whole bunch of traffic at the same time. So a domain name, I wouldn't be going out there paying crazy sums of money unless you were trying to buy a brand as such, because there are a lot of good high-powered domain names out there that you can get relatively cheap. So it's a hard one to say without seeing the domain name, but it's only really, I certainly wouldn't be paying $5,000 just to get 100 backlinks or something like that. That's just not going to happen for a DR50 or whatever, because you can get a whole bunch of DR50s for the same price, which will have much more of an impact than just one. So I think that you just need to be careful and not overpay. What's the general market price for something similar, and try and go in at that rate. But more often than not, when I'm negotiating or haggling with people for buying domain names, you end up getting it for a hell of a lot less than what the initial asking price is for that. So just haggle the crap out of them, man, and try and get the best possible price for you. And what I'd also say is, you are in this industry. They may or may not be, I'm not sure, but more often than not, these guys don't really understand the full value of a domain name anyway. So you can tell them it's just a crap one, and you'll try and prey on their naivety, so to speak. So Sanghamrita, what is the impact of changing domain? How can that be handled so that the SEO won't be affected? Please advise. So changing your domain name, I'm not going to sit here and lie. It will have an impact in most cases. I've very rarely seen someone doing something of a change of domain name on a big website that's ranking for a lot of keywords and not had a negative impact. It normally takes probably 2 or 3 months, providing you've got all the redirects in place and everything else. But it does have an impact, and I personally changed from the .co.uk to the .com, and it probably took me near 6 months to recover from that. Just by the time Google picked up stuff and I'd made a few mistakes and all that kind of stuff. So trying to get it on point, and not to have your SEO impacted is not going to be the case, because you're changing completely to a new domain name. So any power from your old domain name is going to take a bit of time to pass to the new one. Google's going to take a bit of time to figure out the redirects and all that kind of stuff. And while that's happening, there is going to be a slump. The best way to mitigate that is try and get some pay-per-click budget to kind of carry you through that period of time, if you really do rely on that level of business. Because I've done it for a big travel company in the past who totally rebranded, and I think again we were closer to 6 months to even come back to the level we were at way before the migration. It took about 6 months, so it's not easy, and it's not as plain sailing as you think doing that. So good luck with it though. Deep, thank you very much for your kind words, mate. Just trying to help people out. Adam, legit link building for affiliate sites. Any tips, tools, and experience you can share? So for affiliate websites, Adam, I would tend to either use, so I'm going to try and get the easy, let's say it's a brand new affiliate website, I'm going to get the easy generic links that I can get. You go onto People Per Hour or whatever and get your Behance and all these kind of things. The very generic power websites, just to give it a solid base. So I get them from People Per Hour. Then what I do is buy a few guest blog posts that are kind of relevant, fairly powerful. And then what I'll do is tend to blast the shit out of those guest posts with a tool like SEO AutoPilot, building a whole bunch of Web 2.0s or whatever it's going to be, different diagrams and stuff on there. And that's what I would do for link building for an affiliate website, is build a kind of tiered structure of, you know, some good stuff, and even those Behances and all those other links that I buy from people per hour, just to give it a good solid base. I will also be blasting the shit out of them with links, and then from there, basically, I'm building a kind of semi-clean buffer, you know, just big websites, and then everything underneath it is just link laundering, cheating, scamming, you know, automation and everything else, and just blasting the crap out of that to get to the top. Now, of course, you can spend a whole ton of money buying tons of guest posts and all that kind of stuff. I'll go out there and get low to middle of the road guest posts and power them up myself. And an interesting thing is that you can power these things up very, very quickly. I've taken a domain name which is insurancerepairasglasgow.co.uk, which last week had a DR of 0. This week, as it stands today, it's a DR 24, and that's just been doing a nice sequence of blasts using SEO AutoPilot, and obviously that would essentially be a PBN or whatever that website, and obviously it would point to a money website. But so you can blast the shit out of it and get a lot of power quite easily underneath, you know, a solid structure, and ensuring there's no damage to your affiliate website. As I say, just guest posts, SEO AutoPilot, and anything else you can get that's semi-legit. I think more often than not, people think you have to build thousands of links to an Amazon website or affiliate websites. The case is, it's not always the case. You know, building 10 or 15 good links and some short blasts underneath that certainly have worked well in my favour, mate. So hopefully that helps. Chris Palmer, good to see you, buddy. My mate who does the Wednesday show with me, great guy. You guys should follow Chris Palmer as well if you're not already. Jen Price Inc. looking to keyword difficulty and add the number of links needed. Difficulty 0, send 3 links. Difficulty 1, send 5 links. I mean, that again, there is no right or wrong answer here. You know, something doesn't have any keyword difficulty. For example, you may rank in content alone in some good on page, but that is really niche dependent. You know, there's guys that maybe operate in areas like where Adam Brown is in Peterborough, where it's going to be a lot less competitive than an area like London, where something that's got low keyword difficulty in London is going to require 10 links anyway. You know, so it really comes down to the area that you're operating in as well. So I think what I always try and do is throw some at it, see where it takes me, and then adjust until I get to where I want to be. So yeah, that's the way I look at it. But there's no designated ratio of saying, you know, 3 links to something that's got a difficulty of 1 or whatever. Just do what it takes. I think there's a general misconception out there that people think you need thousands of links. That's not always the case. You know, build 5 links, and you know, if that gets you to the top end of page 1, then that's it. You know, just build 1 link every quarter or whatever to try and maintain that, and play around that way. Key sensitive URL, what is that? So my man Craig McGill has said that these can be handy in print or websites for those who use reading software. So, you know, case sensitive URL. I wasn't even. I'm the same as some of the guys here. I didn't even know URLs could be case sensitive. It's not something I've tried, to be honest with you. But I'm sure somewhere along the line, as Craig McGill says, that there's probably a need for them in certain instances, but just nothing that I've come across. But I don't do websites for people in general, so probably why I've never come across it. So Jen Price is from India. Indian cold callers are amazing. Thanks, man. Any tips on beating Google Sandbox quickly? Started a new affiliate site the other day. Already got more content on the website than the person ranking number 1. Do backlinks help? Backlinks, of course, are going to help a website. There's no denying that. I think beating this sandbox, people debate whether there is a sandbox or there's not or whatever. I think when you start a website, by the time you get it built, by the time you drip on some content, and by the time you build some links to it, it's going to take 2 or 3 months to do that anyway. I wouldn't be worrying too much about a sandbox or trying to beat anything. I'm sure there might be something in there, where a new website that's untrusted does get held back slightly, and I think one of the first things I always do just to build a bit of trust and a bit of authority is citations, even for an affiliate website. Just builds up your DR to about DR10 just by doing a citations blast, and just obviously you're on different directories and whatnot, which may or may not work in terms of Google trusting your website. But I've got a process, but part of my process doesn't involve worrying about a sandbox. If I'm being totally honest, I don't give it a second thought. I just carry on doing what I'm doing, launch a new website, and get content on there. I think that's a great thing to do. And obviously go after the long tail keywords first. And then what you want to do is look at your pages that are ranking the best or driving the most traffic, and maybe build some more links to them, and then work your way down the list. But I wouldn't be overthinking the sandbox thing. Just keep doing what you're doing, and it will work out fine. Gary Wilson, yes, that's the man. Han, hi Craig, any thoughts on building backlinks using exact keyword via press releases? Listen, in terms of anchor text and whatever, of course you can use the exact keywords via press releases. I think with anything, though, you've got to mix it up as much as you can. I mean, you can do it through press releases. Either way, these links are pointing to your website, and you're going to have, if you're going to slam exact keywords in there, eventually it's going to look a bit manipulative, if you like. So I would always be careful in mixing it up. Of course, you want to use exact keywords now and again. What I tend to do is use exact keywords on the most powerful websites, and then become more generic the less power there is, just to give it a nice mixture of kind of anchor text, if you like. Camran, would you buy an expired domain name off a local business where all the social media properties are with the real owners? It depends. It depends. If the social media was big and that was a big part of the driving traffic to the website, then of course I would be concerned. I would try and push to get those social media properties. In terms of citations and stuff, are you changing address, or are you just taking over their, what they've already got there? I mean, you can get a citations cleanup with the likes of, it's not Citations Builder anymore, it's SEObuilder.com. They can do a cleanup for you. You're going to have a cleanup and make sure that your citations are consistent across the board, and try and get as many of the old citations, if you've moved address, changed over, which is not that easy. But it's Cameron, it's a hard one. If the social media are not that important, you can set up another one, other social media channels, if the domain is driving a lot of traffic and ranks for a lot of keywords. But I think I would want the full package, if I'm being honest. So we're at 39 minutes in. I'll try and go through as many more of the questions as I possibly can. If you do have any questions, I'm at 2:54. It's actually 3:10. So any further questions, stick in the comments rather than the live chat, because I can answer them after as well, just so that I'm answering as many as I possibly can. You can also give the video a like if you're liking the content. That would be much appreciated as well. But Accounting Plus, please guide us about Facebook video SEO. mean, there's only so much you can do with Facebook video SEO as such. You've obviously got to use the right tagging and all that kind of stuff. But I think the engagement is the biggest part. Whether that's in YouTube, Facebook, or anything else, it's the engagement that these videos get. And it's why I'm pushing out, trying to get more YouTube subscribers and stuff. Trying to encourage, you know, I've given away a free course to try and drive people into give me more engagement on YouTube, which in turn is going to rank my videos better. You know, that's part of my long-term strategy. So it's trying to force that engagement on Facebook. There's no trick as such. You can use, you know, some tricks on Facebook videos, such as boosting the video and promoting it to the Indian or Pakistan audience, where you're going to get it for a penny a click, and all these guys are all hungry and keen to learn SEO. That works very well for me. So you can use paid traffic to kind of force the engagement. You can use micro workers. There's loads of other stuff, but you really need to force that engagement. I've also got push notifications set up on my website so that I can push people to videos. I've got a large emailing list so I can push people to videos. So at that point, I'm able to then force engagement, and that's why most of my videos will rank well. And it's mainly the engagement signals, of course, the tagging and all that kind of stuff, and the title tags and the descriptions have all got to be filled out and be relevant to the topic. But on top of that, obviously, as I say, it's all about engagement. So make sure you can force that or pay for it or whatever, or try and encourage it. You know, I had to give away a free course to get a whole bunch of new subscribers, and it's working well. So I've had to use something to force it. There's no quick or easy way to do it. Prajwal, do you think we need to disavow all the links that SEMrush think is toxic? Absolutely not. Now, SEMrush, I love the tool. It's a great tool. But some of the stuff they mark as toxic is and they're clearly not toxic. You know, position of the link, you know, whether it's a sidebar, footer, or whatever, you know, they're just going to make assumptions that you've paid for links and obviously mark it as toxic. So I think you have to do a common sense approach and look at it. And if you think that's a real link that you know you've got that's on a legit website, I wouldn't be disavowing it at all. No chance whatsoever. And I just be careful. Just be careful what you're disavowing. If you've got a whole lot of crap in there, you know, disavow bit by bit by bit. Don't just disavow all at once, but just be careful what you're disavowing as well. Hopefully that helps you, mate. Miguel, do you spin text for high authority sites profiles when using SEO AutoPilot? Yes, I sure do. I'm going to be doing an SEO AutoPilot video just in terms of some of my processes and different diagrams and stuff in the next week or so. So keep an eye out for that. But SEO AutoPilot, I've not always used all my life. I used to be using RankerX, GSA, and loads of those other tools. So I'm not going to sit and say I'm an expert on SEO AutoPilot. I'm still trying and testing a lot of different methods and stuff like that. But yeah, I think you've got to spin stuff around and play around and try different things with SEO AutoPilot, and you know, try different diagrams and all that kind of stuff as well. And I'm friends with the owner at SEO AutoPilot, so he's got some cool diagrams that are not necessarily available for the public that I'm testing out as well. And hopefully that kind of will help me be able to give you guys better value further down the line. And as I say, I'm going to be doing some stuff next week on SEO AutoPilot, so keep an eye out for that. Hello, Craig. I'm a veteran, starting my own SEO small business in my town. I'm having an issue. I have a customer already, but in Google Search Console it shows 2 pages or no index. So on your website, there is likely to be a kind of no index tag on those pages. You're probably better shoot me a message, mate, so I can have a look, and guide you on a one-to-one basis rather than me guessing what the problem might be. But Google Search Console is not really going to be wrong. If it's saying that two pages are no index, you're basically telling Google not to index those pages. And if those pages are designed to drive traffic and bring in revenue, then you've got a problem, and that needs to be rectified, and you want those pages to be indexed. But I would have to have a look at it. If you want to ping me a message on Facebook or whatever, I'll have a quick look at the exact situation there rather than guessing. Tommy Finnan, hi Craig, when you want to rank a website globally, should we be picking a .com instead of a .ie or .co.uk? If I don't go for the .com, could it affect rankings in different countries? Tommy, my own personal opinion is go for the .com. I used to have the .co.uk version of my website, and from personal experience, I really struggled to rank in a lot of other countries, including the USA. And the USA is one of the kind of biggest places out there, and we all want to do that, whether it's affiliate or whatever. The US is a big place, so sticking yourself to a .co.uk or a .ie, it's not best practice. I would always go for a .com. And having made that change, I've got rankings in a lot of different countries now. So the proof's in the pudding there. I know a lot of people say, oh, that's not entirely true. There is .co.uk's that rank in America and all of this stuff. And of course there is, but, I had a .co.uk which was fairly powerful, and I couldn't do it. I was hosted in the UK. Everything was all pointing to the UK, and I really struggled. I really did. So I think the .com definitely helps, but that's just my own personal opinion. So through personal experience, no problem at all. Ryan Merzudin Forbes, how much impact do exact match domains have? I see many different results by vertical. Is it still effective for local SEO, even partial EMD? Now, it used to work really well where it was a case of just putting up a page and it would rank really well. And then it went to the point where I don't think it had any impact at all having anything in a domain name. I believe now we're coming back round to seeing exact match domain names, or even a partial exact match domain name, are giving you a little bit more of a benefit again. Back in the day when I started out in SEO, I used to buy all sorts of domain names. We're probably all been in that boat. Just buy, a guy would phone me, not even a customer. Someone would phone me and say, hey man, I'm a plumber in Glasgow and I might want SEO. So I'm like, yeah. Spoke to him, tried to pitch him SEO. He's not yet committed. Obviously, it's the first phone call. And I used to just go out and just check. It was on 1&1 at the time. And used to go into 1&1 and just look for like plumber Glasgow, and then that would be available. And I'd like, shit, buy that. And then I'd look for Edinburgh, Manchester, London, and I would buy them all. And I used to make a lot of money just renting those websites out. And I still have a few of them. But obviously, then there became that point, whenever it was, like 5-6 years ago, where exact match domain names no longer worked at all. They just fucking fell away. But I think they are starting to come back, and it's making it a little easier. And that's just my honest opinion again on that. Not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm starting to see a lot more exact match domain names starting to pump through with just a small amount of work. Travis Saunders, is there a recording of this? Yes, there will be a recording. Well, not a recording as such. You'll just be able to catch this in YouTube after this. I'm not sure. You're on LinkedIn, but if you go to my YouTube channel, just search for Craig Campbell SEO. This will be on there. As soon as the show is finished, it will be ready to watch, and you'll be able to watch it later on. So I appreciate the kind words, and Mercedes, love this. Thank you. How are you showing questions during the live video? Any tool? So yes, I use a tool called Streamyard. Now, what this tool basically allows me to do, I'm actually going to share my screen so you can see it. So, Streamyard, just forget about all this garbage in the middle, allows me to stream. So if I go up to the top here, you'll be able to see that it's streaming live in my Facebook. That's my personal Facebook page. It's streaming in my Facebook group. It's streaming live on LinkedIn, and it's also streaming live on YouTube. And all of your questions all pull through into this dashboard. Now, if I click on this, show, hide, you can show the questions, which makes it more visual for you guys. But you can actually do a lot more. You can, have stuff scrolling along it, and it's quite a flexible tool, and it's very cost effective. And the domain name is streamyard.com. So yeah, that's what I'm using to stream, and it just puts it out to multiple places at once, which means that I can get decent viewing from the different channels that I've got. So yeah, hopefully that helps you, buddy. There is another one actually called restream.io. You can restream to, so with StreamYard, you can stream to 5 different platforms. With restream.io, you can put it out to 30 different platforms, Twitch and all of that stuff. I don't have a following in Twitch, so there's no point. StreamYard does the job for me. But yeah, that's the tool, mate. What did you mean by generic backlinks from people per hour for affiliate websites? Any examples? So I again will share my screen. I'll show you what I mean. So if I go to people per hour and I just simply Google guest posts on the search bar here. When I say generic, there's some websites on here that are very specific to a niche. So there's like sports guest posts. Now, I don't want a link on a sports website for, say a pet related affiliate website, but websites that are very generic, like Thrive Global or Deadline News. These are websites that you can potentially get a guest post on that would be generic, or self-growth. You wouldn't want to be on the Sports Daily if you were selling links, but you can basically get a whole bunch of decent guest posts on people per hour. Right, so you guys have all had an inbox where someone's basically said to you, I can sell you a link on the Sports Daily or whatever, and they give you all these metrics and say it's like $150. If you use that domain name and put it into people per hour, you see that you get it for half the price, because a lot of these guys doing outreach are basically selling someone else's shit and doubling up on the price. So what I do is just go to the root, find the cheapest person selling a link on these generic websites. Whether, when I say generic, I just mean business related or very, very generic news websites or whatever it's going to be to build up some power. Then you can start to go into people per hour and you can look for sports guest posts if you're in the sports niche or whatever you want to do. So that is what I mean by generic, just some powerful websites that are going to pass me some instant power to my domain name and just get it a bit more trusted. That's just part of the strategy that I use. Cheers, Rick Martinez. Glad there is use in this. Jen Price, we have WP sites where only the categories link others, only money products. How to address that? Only categories link others, only money products. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that there, but you want to make sure that your categories and your products all have different URLs and are getting indexed, and make sure that your money products are all linkable. You would want to fix that. If only your categories link to your money products, you would want to kind of resolve that and have better internal links and everything else. But yeah, I'm not too sure what you mean by that, but if you can maybe redo the question, please, mate, and I will try and come back and answer it. Chris Lever, hey Craig, have you seen the copy-paste Amazon product descriptions rank well for Amazon affiliate websites? I noticed images rank much quicker. I'll be honest, I'm out of the Amazon game now. As soon as they slashed that commission a couple of weeks back, I sold the 2 websites that I had. I've not seen this try. I've not seen this as such. But if it's worth trying. If you're seeing images ranking much quicker, worth trying. Thanks for the advice. As I say, I can't even try that out to see if that works for me, because I bloody get pissed off with Amazon, and the commissions are just that low now that I just flog the websites and concentrate on my own other affiliate stuff. Jen Price, can RSS feeds, Twitter feeds be a solution to not post every week in your PBN? You're posting duplicate content, man. I think you want to make sure that you're posting unique content on your PBNs. Treat them like a real website. It's entirely up to you how you want to operate your PBN, but I use a PBN and make it an affiliate website as well so that it pays for itself. So if I've seen an expired hotel domain name, I will repurpose that, set it up on booking.com, start adding hotels and everything else and try and monetize it as well as it forming a PBN. I wouldn't be looking for a cheap way out trying to use RSS feeds to be a solution for not posting every week. I think if you want to treat a website well, give it some new content that, you can't get around that. And, there are ways where you go to the Wayback Machine and steal content off another expired domain name that might be relevant to you if you don't want to pay for content. There's loads of hacks and ways around that. But doing it the lazy way, RSS feeds and whatnot, it's just not going to work in my opinion. Thank you, David Baker. Cheers, mate. Hope to do more of these. I've just got to obviously ensure that I'm not pissing people off as well. But I do a couple a week, mate. So yeah. Thanks for all the answers. Google penalties like page specific, for example. If I power up a guest post of mine, like you say, would I be risking their entire business? Do you even care? But no, the truth of the matter is, if I buy a guest post on Forbes and I slam some links at it, they're not really going to get a penalty. They're that big and that powerful that they're not going to get a penalty. But you can potentially risk someone's website. I'm not going to say there's no risk whatsoever to that website, but do you even care? It could be someone else's PBN. I don't give a shit. I'm ruthless that way. I'll just do what I want and push it as hard as I can. And if it burns, then I'll get another guest post and do the same again. So just the way I am might not be the answer you're looking for. David, in what order would you prioritize your SEO efforts? I'm not going to sit here and say one is better than the other. I hear a lot of people saying technical is the best, on page is the best, and off page is the best. Anyone who's not doing all 3 of those is not doing the job properly. Now, I would do technical and on page. I'd do technical first, or on page, between technical and on page first, and then look at the off page side of things. I think there's no point in building links and doing off page to something that doesn't have the right on page SEO and doesn't have the right technical foundations, because you'll be wasting your time. But that's not to say that I wouldn't start link building in month 1 either. I think you've got to prioritize technical and on page to some degree, but I think you can still build links in the meantime in the background while all that's been sorted, so that a couple of months down the line that you've got a decent combination of all 3. But yeah, without any one of those, so good on page and good off page, and it's a crappy website that loads like a bag of shit, it's not going to be the best job. Or a great technical website that's got really bad on page relying on links, it's not going to work. So I think if you took either one of those out of the equation, you're not going to be doing the best job for your website. As simple as that. And I think you have to put years ago links and content was all that really mattered. But I think technical and all that kind of stuff massively come into play these days. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, David. I will try and rattle through as many more of these as I can. I know we are at the hour, but I'm just going to blast through if no one's bored. Is your free course enough to start freelancing? The free course gives you the basics. It's what you do with it. What I would say to anyone doing the course, I'm giving you a guide to the right direction. That doesn't mean everything I say in it is exactly right. Go away and do your own research, do your own testing. Of course, it's enough to start freelancing. It gives you a much better understanding of SEO. However, you've then got to take the bull by the horns and take action. And that's the problem. People say, oh, Craig, I tried what you said there and it didn't quite work. Well, I'm only giving you an introduction to SEO. I'm not giving you everything away for free, all the kind of techniques and strategies and blueprints and processes and all that. But, I'm giving you a guide as to what works and what doesn't. And it's what you do from there is more than enough to start freelancing for sure. But that depends on a person. Abid, how to get listed in review sites easily? Is there any good way to get listed or review startup? Review sites, just approach them. These guys they're happy, offer them content. You'll get listed, no problem at all. Review websites will do anything for free content or something for free. So you just approach them and do it. Elton Musa, do expired sites we buy for PBNs or use have to be indexed on Google? No. There's lots of expired domain names that have expired 6 months ago that are no longer indexed, and you can get them re-indexed very quickly. One of the first things I do when I buy an expired domain name is whack something up, even if it's just a basic WordPress template with some of the old URLs and some of the old content, just to see if it does come back into the index fairly quickly. And then from there, I'll say, right, that's a good PBN that can rank and recover its position. So let's work on it. Sometimes you get it and it's been burnt to death and will never rank again because some dodgy spammers bump the domain to death. So as part of any process, I always just chuck something up, some of the old URLs, even the homepage or whatever, and just test it. If it comes through fairly quickly, you're good to go, man. Partho, nowadays GMB listed is needed or not? Obviously, if you want to take advantage of getting traffic from local websites, then of course a if you want to take advantage of the local search volume and the GMB is at the top of every local search, then it would be crazy not to. But is it required for Amazon affiliate websites or whatever? Absolutely not. So unless you're doing something very local, you don't really need a GMB. But I would say to most people, there's always going to be a way to somehow get some traffic from the GMB, and it's going to benefit you in some way. So yeah, if it's feasible, do it. But if not, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't obsess over it. It's just some more free traffic that you can get by having that GMB set up. But we are out of questions on the live chat. Thank you very much for everyone attending. I will be doing more of these. I sometimes do them with guests. I sometimes don't do them live. I've got a podcast. I've got various different things. Just trying to mix up as much information as I can. Trying to grow my YouTube channel, so I would appreciate any subscribes, likes, comments on the video, and also ideas. Put comments below this video to give me ideas of other topics. I don't want to always do question and answers. I can jump on and show you stuff. I'm a fairly open book. I can show you a process. I can show you tools. I can show you whatever. So please do comment below, and I shall be back next week. I'm going to take tomorrow off, so next week I'll be back doing a couple of more Ask Me Anythings, and I will be joined every Wednesday by Mr. Chris Palmer, but I will also do one myself for guys that are in the free SEO course or on my channels that want some basic questions answered. And yeah, as I say, always always an open book. So thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time to join, and I will see you again soon. Cheers.